What nobody told you is you become a mother, is you gonna fuck up, okay? And to think not, honey, you living in la la land, okay? Because there is no blueprint to being a parent, okay? And the best thing that we can do for our children is working on ourselves to start healing ourselves. And you will see that your children's lives would be different. But first is you taking the necessary action to change who you are, change who you think you are, in order to give your children a different life than what you grew up seeing. Peace, peace, peace. Okay, so some of the things that I have learned on my journey and I'm learning is one, to make sure I come first, right? And this really comes from when my youngest children was smaller and my oldest children was smaller. And I just felt like I had to be, everything. And sometimes we tend to sacrifice our needs because we like, well, my children come first and I got to make sure they good. To me, I think that's like really a bad philosophy because, it's like subconsciously you showing them to put people before them, right? That's one. And then two, also what I started understanding was you cannot replace another parent with money. And three, you got to put yourself first because if you don't, you will grow up. Well, they will grow up and you will get older and you will feel so much resentment when things aren't done, right? Like, say for instance, if, you could be like, well, I did all this stuff. And then when it's not done back to you, like, as your children get older, then you'll be in your feelings. So one of the things that, like, I'm really starting to understand is to make sure that I put myself first. And then what I did with my oldest children, don't repeat the same thing with my youngest children because then you're going to get the same thing back in return. Also, I had said this before, is some things that I did, to my oldest children, right? That if I knew better, I would have done better. Whether it was scolding them, speaking to them, any old type of way. At times because I was in my feelings, I was upset because I wanted them to do certain things and maybe they wasn't listening to the rules or whatever, or using the belt with them. And this morning I was feeling some type of way. And also you got to be mindful what you're giving your energy to, okay? Because I've been watching this content creator and I know it's like, it's drama with it and, whatever it is. And I go back and watch the content creator who's making the content, right? And so this morning I was watching her, and then what I said was, I was like, you know what? Let me go read, okay? And so I'm still reading The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And I got to the part where it talks about how he banished the feeling of guilt, right? And I'm just going to share this part with you guys. It was a father who was working like so hard and wait, let me see. I know a man who worked every night until about 1 o'clock in the morning. He paid no attention to his two boys or his wife. He was always too busy working hard. He thought people should pat him on the back because he was working and persistently past midnight every night. He had a blood pressure of over 200 and was full of guilt. Unconsciously, he proceeded to punish himself by hard work and he completely ignored his children. A normal man does not do that. He is interested in his boys and in their development. He does not shut his wife out of his world. I explained to him why he was working so hard. There is something eating you inside, otherwise you would not act this way. You are punishing yourself and you have to learn to forgive yourself. He did not have a deep sense of guilt. It was towards a brother. I explained to him that God was not punishing him, but that he was punishing himself. For example, if you misuse the laws of life, you will suffer accordingly. If you put your hand on a naked charged wire, you will get burned. The forces of nature are not evil. It is your use of them that determines whether they have a good or evil effect. Electricity is not evil. It depends on how you use it, whether to burn down a structure or light up a home. The only sin is ignorance of the laws, and the only punishment is the automatic reaction of man's misuse of the law. If you misuse the principle of chemistry, you may blow up the office or the factory. If you strike your hand on a board, you may cause your hand to bleed. The board is not for that purpose. Its purpose may be to lean upon or to support your feet. This man realized that God does not condemn or punish anyone, and that all his suffering was due to the reaction of his subconscious mind to his own negative, destructive thinking. He had cheated his brother at one time, and the brother had now passed on. Still, he was full of remorse and guilt. I asked him, would you cheat your brother now? He said no. Did you feel you were justified at the time? His reply was yes. But you would not do it now. He added, no, I'm helping others to know how to live. I added the following comment. You have a greater reason and understanding now. Forgiveness is to forgive yourself. Forgiveness is getting your thoughts in line with the divine law of harmony. Self-elimination is called hell, bondage, and restriction. Forgiveness is called heaven, harmony, and peace. So one of the things that you have to understand is, and what I'm understanding, and this is like why I love to read, because it's like the explanation of the things is like, you could be thinking a certain type of way and like don't understand why your life is going in the direction it's going in. And then when you read and get somebody else's perspective or see the examples that may be relatable to you in your own life, it's like, oh my goodness, I could do this so much better. I could do things so differently, right? And that's what like really gets me excited about life, is really me understanding and knowing that I have the power to do whatever it is, to create whatever type of life I want to create. And if we knew better, we definitely would have done better, right? And me being a mother, I could look back and see, the things that I may have wanted my mother to do, but she could do only what she had, right? Like she could only give what she had. And if that was, making me a cheeseburger, on Fridays, every Fridays, and showing her love and stuff like that, if that's all she had to give, or I remember having conversations with my mother when I was a kid, when I would go to my grandmother's house and my mother lived there, and at nighttime we would talk, so one of the things that I could look at my life and say, it is not to be like, well, my parents, they should have did better, or they should have, because, that's like saying that the way the universe worked, it was so wrong. And I don't believe that anything in this here universe is accidental. I don't believe that there's any coincidence. I believe things happen the way things supposed to happen, and people give you what they have to offer. Okay, and it's this book called Mastery of Love by Don Miguel, and one of the things he talks about, and I had said this prior in my videos, and I even heard Dr. Wayne Dyer say this, is if you plant orange seeds, okay, and don't expect for you to get apples, or don't expect for you to get pears. You're going to get what you planted. And that's the same as that concept when it's, the laws of this here universe, right? Or people can't give you grapefruit juice from oranges. or people can't give you apple juice from oranges. And all they have to give is what they have available or what they perceive themselves to be able to offer. And as I read and I'm doing the work on myself, I can understand why, the adults who played a significant role in my life when I was a kid, why they did some of the things that they may have done, right? And not making excuses, but having empathy and sympathy and understanding that, they did the best that they knew how to do. Because I have children, and in order for me to see my shortcomings, because a lot of times what tends to happen is we tend to do the thing that we seen growing up subconsciously, right? It's like on autopilot. We tend to do those things. And sometimes we can say, well, they should never did it. And I think the reason why we are born into families is for us to break certain patterns, for us to teach, for us to go through experiences and, go back to our true self, which is love, right? And when we go back to our true self, which is love, it's like you can forgive them whom whatever person may have done whatever to you. You could forgive them because you know that they was operating as their true selves. Because our real selves are love. And it's filled with love, right? It's only when we allow the ego to dictate and to show us, like, which way to go and things of that nature. And so to the person that's out there that, you may have some guilt, or you may feel some type of resentment. You may feel like, well, my life could have been better. My children, they don't do this, and I done showed up and I done did so much, and whatever it is like that. Do understand that we are all doing the best that we know how to do, okay? And that's what the purpose of boundaries is for as well, right? Especially like in a Black community, because I don't think, for the most part, maybe it's some, Black parents that I'm quite sure that talk to their children about boundaries. But for me as a child, I never heard anything about boundaries. And now as I'm learning and I'm relearning and I'm learning, right? It feels so good to know that it's certain things and certain principles and keys I can use to have a better life, as opposed of, seeing what I grew up with, right? And so to the person that's out there, there's hope, okay? And we all growing together, we glowing together. And, when you do the work on yourself, you start seeing that your world starts changing. And the reason being is because, one, you showing up for yourself. Two, you look at yourself and you see that you are worthy, you are deserving to have a better life, okay? Three, you also taking accountability and responsibility for why things are showing up. And it feels so good to understand that there's laws in this here universe. Because I used to think like, oh, well, it's biased. God is biased. I used to feel that way because I used to say, well, how come? I didn't say it like, verbally, but I had to feel it some type of way because, first of all, my whole concept of God, it was like, it was wrong. Okay, thinking that God is in the sky and looking down and punishing me for whatever it was that I had done. And also feeling like, well, these people got it and why I don't have it, and being envious and jealous, not realizing that I'm actually causing myself to not have it because of my perception, right? And so when you start doing the work on yourself, it's not a 1 day thing, it's not a 3 months thing, it's not a 9 month thing, is is a lifetime thing. It's like you constantly doing the work on yourself, you constantly pouring into yourself, you constantly pouring into others because you know you deserve it. And so with that being said, I catch you guys on the next one.